Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Oxygen Not Included. Today we're going to be taking a quick overview here, a look at the new Occupational Upgrade. This is the preview version, so it's very early in beta, and we'll be releasing in the next 2 weeks officially in the game. So some things may change between now and then, but let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be included in this update. So the first and main thing, probably the biggest thing that is going to change the way we actually physically play the game is the Jobs tab. We have a whole new system for that. I'll be looking into that a little bit and explaining some of that. There's also new equipment, such as a steam turbine, smart batteries, and holy moly, check this tab down here, an entire ore transportation system, allowing you to have little arms and conveyor rails, which is going to move stuff between areas. There's also some other equipment, such as new stations and a rebalancing to like the farm and all of that fun stuff over here. So different plants and different things that we're going to be cooking up, such as the recipes, have been rebalanced to make the game a little bit more rewarding and also a little bit more challenging in some areas. There's also been some other things that were not necessarily listed over here in the patch notes, such as the different way the priority system works now, which is connected to the job system, where you have a priority of 1 through 5, and then you have basically a strict priority, which means you must do this before you do any of the other preference things. So the whole preference things has to do with what job you give your duplicants, if you give them a job at all. So just taking a quick look at that, we have Abe and Devin over here. Both of them are going to be running on this manual generator to generate some power for this little tiny battery over here. So that's what their current job is right now. If we take a look at, what they can do, or what everybody can do, is that they can all generate power, which should be right down here. So one of these. It isn't actually quite clear if it's operate or if it's supply, but it's one of those two. Let's go ahead and figure it out real quick. If I turn operate off, do they jump off the wheel? No, Devin is staying on. But then again, Devin is an electrical engineer, so he by default can run equipment like that. If I turn operate back on, Abe, are you going to jump back on? Yeah, there they go. All right, so they're jumping back on. Exploring that a little bit more, let's go ahead and just put some dirt down here. So we're going to paint that dirt in to this area. And then I'm going to give them the command to dig. Now everybody can dig, however, some of my duplicants are far better at digging. And the reason they're far better at digging is because they are miners. So if we look at the tab, we look at the line over here, or the row I should say, we have apprentice miner, which is currently Abe. And as Abe works to dig things up, he's gaining job experience. And that's how he's going to get to the next tier of work. So in order for Abe to move from an apprentice miner to a miner, he has to complete enough experience in order to meet the requirements over here for the miner. So you can see right here, mastery of this job is not filled out. Now in this example, Marie has enough experience to be a seasoned miner. So you can see a big difference in the digging speed. So look at that, 6 for Abe. However, Marie is 12. Now when it comes to figuring out what kind of jobs you want your duplicants to do, well, they do have certain interests. In this case, Abe over here would really like to be a general engineer because he's got an interest in operating. So that means he will operate a little bit faster than a duplicant without an interest in it. So that's similar to what we've seen in some other games, such as like RimWorld. However, it doesn't really pertain to a fail system. It's just simply that they have extra abilities already geared towards that operation. So that's a good thing for them to build up. So Marie has an interest in digging already, so she's that's why she's a miner. I'm going to go ahead and assign Abe as the apprentice miner here, and we'll see the difference in their mining ability. So you see they sit down, then they put the hat on there. So whoop, there we go. They get really happy, and now they're off to go do work. So Marie will prefer to do anything that has to do with mining over any other things that have an equal priority. So by default, everything is prioritized as 2 now, as compared to 5. However, if I were to say, let's go ahead and sweep, let's see what happens here. So if I take a look at the priority, so I put sweeping on priority 3 here. However, since Marie is a miner, and Abe is also a miner, even though he doesn't seem to have his hat on, they're going to prefer to dig rather than sweep. However, if I say sweep and then I say strict, and I put that on, well, then we should see people come down here to go grab it, because they're no longer going to prefer to do one thing as compared to something else. So there's like a soft priority, and then there's a strict priority as far as how I, understand it. So since Bert really has nothing else to do, I'll prefer to sweep over anything else that is of equal interest. However, since this stuff over here was not put under strict, my miners are just going to continue to mine. However, if I were to prioritize a mining of 3 over here, then they will dig that part out before they dig the other parts out. So if I take a look at what's going on here as far as the priorities are concerned, my miners have gone back to mining, even though this is set to preferred here. That was only at level 2. So now that everything is equivalent, right? So everything that they have to dig up is only at priority level 2. Then they're switching over to what was set and under strict. And it's a little weird. You're just going to have to play with it to really understand it. But of equal number, they will go and do the strict one first. But if this was a preferred of a higher number, then if that's their job, then they will do that over the strict. At least that's what I'm observing. So, yeah, I mean, you'll play around with it. It'll make sense. I think it's a neat system. Kind of lets you be a little bit more flexible and have some duplicants that are capable of just going off and doing anything, and some that are really focused on what they're doing. So on bigger bases where you have many, many duplicants, this will be really interesting. As a bit of a comparison here, if we take a look at the stats for Marie, who is my senior digger, you can see that she's got mole hands, so she has +3 already, but as a miner, she has +9, so 300% digging speed. If I compare her to Abe, which is an apprentice miner, you can see that his stats are going to be a little bit lower. So he only has a digging level of 6, and then he's just getting a buff of +3 for being a miner. So it should be 3, 6, and 9 is what I'm seeing there. So in case I haven't already mentioned it, up here as far as their expectations are, the lower tier job that they have, they only need minor decor duplicants in this job, have low decor standards, and then this increases as their job level increases. So tier 2, they need standard food, and so we'll see that the levels of food actually changed. So the quality of foods have been shuffled around a little bit. They also have higher decor expectations, standard food, good food, medium decor, high decor, good food. So if we take a look again here at Abe and we look at his decor expectations and food expectations, we should see that it's quite a bit different than what we're seeing from Marie. So decor expectations at -5. So the duplicant is actually at -35, but interior decorator has +5 to that, and then the dupe has a job with low decor standards, so that automatically bumps it up +25. So the net is -5. And you can see how he's coming to a -1 as a food quality expectation there. Now, if we look at Marie and her stats, decor expectations are at 40. However, the duplicant has a negative multiplier of 35. Well, I guess it's not a multiplier. A negative subtractor. Mather of -35. But the job is +75. So there's a big difference there, especially as a miner. That's quite high for a decor expectation. I have all of the negative, all of their stress and everything turned off in this mode, so you're not seeing people become overstressed. But down here, we can see that today's stress, that's why we're seeing negative infinity %, but you can see what is actually applying, to their stress and the percentage of that in a day. So we have some better statistics. That's a new thing. So one last thing when we're talking about these jobs is that some equipment requires a certain job in order to actually be operated. So in this case, this one here requires somebody to have the correct, they need to be an electrical engineer in order to optimize generators so that they produce extra power. So they make this, in this case, it makes a little specialized generator parts, and these parts get applied to this generator, which gives it a buff for about 3 cycles in order to provide, I think, a 50% increase to the amount of power that it can produce. So the power control station here, that's what that new piece of equipment is. Talking about some other new pieces of equipment, we also have a farm station over here, which I guess requires fertilizer. Interesting. Colony lacks a seasoned farmer. Okay, so if I go over to jobs, and since I'm in debug mode, I can really just apply that to anybody. Let's go ahead and upgrade Bert here. Bam! To seasoned farmer. We need a little bit of fertilizer. Let's go ahead and dig some of that up then. So another thing I should mention here is that no longer do all of these plants require the exact same stuff that they had last time. So mealwood needs air pressure between 150 and 10 kilograms. So there is a maximum pressure now, and otherwise it'll halt. Body temperature is about the same, but it does require dirt, which is 10 kilograms per cycle. So you can no longer just scale mealwood infinitely without any consequences, kind of like I've been doing on my triple printer challenge. So you will need to do something in order to, make that happen. So let's go ahead and dig this up. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. Let's cancel all this prioritized stuff over here. So my miners go and actually dig up fertilizer. One of the things about fertilizer is that you can melt that into dirt. We've talked about this before. We actually cooked sand. We cooked fertilizer into dirt and dirt into sand, but then we gained a whole lot more, many more ways to make sand. So it's no longer necessary. However, now we're probably going to be melting a lot of fertilizer to make dirt so that we can grow things like mealwood. So looking at some of these other plants here, I think the big thing is that the base seed chance is now 10% instead of 33% by default. Now, having a duplicant with a job of farmer, they actually get a bonus to the chance of them getting additional seeds. Bert, where are you at? Okay, yep. So if you hover over like seasoned farmer here, you can see additional seed harvest chance is one of the benefits that they can get right there. Can tend crops to increase their growth rate and things like that. So there's many different bonuses for, working through jobs. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. That'll definitely kind of change the way that you play the game, as from day one. That's all the stuff that's really going to change. The other thing is kind of the food that you're cooking up here. A lot of things have been rebalanced. More or less, a lot of the food that used to cost you more calories in order to improve its quality is no longer like that. Pretty much everything increases the amount of calories you get. So you can see that you need 2,400 calories worth of mushrooms, but you're now going to get 2,800 out of it. But the quality is going to be, +1 or 0. But for the most part, there's more reason to use the electric grill recipes now because you actually can get more food out of it, so your total calories can go up. Not all of them, though. Like pickled meal is just like 1,800. So that's definitely been rebalanced there, but rebalanced in such a way that it's going to be a fair bit more useful. So you can see meal lice here, 1,200 calories, then becomes 1,700. So it's not as big of a multiplier as we had previously. One last thing that I have not seen since I've been running through these first 5 cycles here is I don't see anybody just gaining abilities by running around and doing stuff. So I think pretty much all the abilities is going to be gained through upgrading the jobs that they are doing. Now, I'm not going to, don't hold me to that. I just haven't seen a skill increase. So we'll have to see. I don't really see skill increases happening though. But I mean, holy moly, look at how fast Marie digs. This is at normal speed. Watch what happens at triple speed. Boom! Just flies through it. Abe's running pretty fast, but look at Marie go. It's like she's wearing an exosuit. Certain really high tier end equipment actually requires a duplicant to have a particular job. So in order to do a conveyor system, which I'm going to show you here in a second, we need a mechatronics engineer. And so they have the bonus right there, training received, can build conveyor belt systems, which other duplicants apparently cannot do. Holy moly. Plus 400 to carry weight? Bro, what about this one? So if we take a look at research real quick, we can see here that things like the new steam turbine, which is a massively powerful piece of equipment, that's all the way up there, way at the end of the research tree. So a lot of this equipment that we are adding, you know, the equipment that they've added to the base is really high tier end stuff. For those of us that have been playing for a long time and have bases that are really well developed, that's going to be kind of giving us a little bit more stuff to do at the end of the game. Everything I've talked up to now is kind of something that's more or less stuff you're going to be doing as you play the game from cycle 1. But now let's focus on the equipment here, because that shows us, you know, things that we're going to do at the end of the cycle. So one of the cool things that we've did a while back was battery sensors. Well, now we have smart batteries. So we no longer need to build those little drip sensors and all that fun stuff in order to get a signal out of a battery, whether or not it has power. You have a logistics parameters here, so you have standby and active, and then different levels of whether or not that's going to be, you know, at that active signal or at standby. So that's pretty cool. There's also more descriptions on the battery as far as how quickly batteries, which have higher capacity, drain, and then smart batteries, which do not drain, only have they have half the capacity, but they do allow you to run automation. So no more need for the drip sensors. Also, like I was mentioning before, no need for all the conveyor doors. So all of those cool things we developed, and I made several videos on, no longer needed. We've got equipment to do all that work for us. Wow, that is a glorious mess. So let's take a look at my favorite thing here, which is the ore transportation tab. This thing is dope. So we got little transfer arms. What these things do is they will hover around and like suck things up, and then they'll put them onto a conveyor inbox. So an inbox is just a receiver of stuff that then goes onto a rail, and that rail will go up, and then it will, you know, stuff will move along it. We also have a conveyor bridge, so we can go across certain things. I don't think we necessarily need to go, well, whatever. We're going to use it across this ladder. I don't really know if you need to cross the ladder or not, but definitely through tiles and things like that. And then it has an outbox where it can be picked up and then delivered elsewhere. So you'll see the contents inside of here. That stuff, the inbox side of things do require power. So we've got some of that stuff right there. 120 watts for, you know, the little grabby arm thing, and the inbox is 240 watts. Conveyor belt doesn't really use up anything, and the outbox also does not use up anything. You can see over here we have an element filter, so you can say what you want to suck up and what you want to deliver. So let's go ahead and pick everything. And we can see here that the ore transfer arm has this much range that it can suck up from, and it's now applying to the inbox, and that inbox is starting to convey that item along the track there. So on the flip side of here, we should see that this ore transfer arm is going to pick it up and then deliver it to something. So if I say all to here or all to there, it'll hopefully pick it up and actually deliver it. I have noticed it to be a little bit buggy, so I don't know about that. Come on, a little bit higher. Come on now. Oops. Yeah. Now let's see if it works. Nope, we're not able to pick up out of that. Why not? Come on. All right. Well, unfortunately, I can't seem to get the conveyor outbox to be, you know, working at this time. However, it would be to deliver over here, then it would be able to pick up out of this and take it out. I did have it working at one point, but I just can't seem to get it working right now. In addition to the storage compactors, there is a smart storage compactor, which allows you to send a signal out for automation. How you're going to find that useful, I don't know. Maybe you can turn on or off one of these ore transfer arms. One of the ideas is that you might be able to transfer ore out of here, or maybe you're transferring something like fertilizer into a place where you're going to do the cooking, and then the cooking happens, and then you transfer that back out as dirt for your mealwood farm, which then gets transferred over there. So you can really work on inventory management rather than just try to put it at one spot and have your duplicants run and grab it the entire time. You could potentially use this in a more advanced way to convey certain products around. And you can also request certain things using the smart storage compactors, which will be, you know, have a request signal until that signal is full or something like that. And you can designate what that maximum number is. So you can, you know, put a certain amount in there and then say, I've now reached this amount, so don't transfer any more into it. I don't know. Interesting idea. Something to think about. In addition to the smart storage compactor, they also made the refrigerator smart. So it's an app on your phone, and it lets you know when your food or your milk is about, ready to go bad, and when to go to the store to pick up some more stuff and when you should get rid of it. Actually, I'm just kidding. What it is it lets you know when it reaches maximum and has the same sort of automation outlet as we have with the storage compactor. Again, the idea there, I think, is that you can hook that up to like a micro musher or something like that using one of these little like electrical connectors, so you can add, turn the power on or off to your electric grill or your micro musher in order to really create a batch operation for like continuous. You know what I mean? So you can do certain things like that, and I think that's pretty awesome. So another new piece of equipment that has been added to the game here is the steam turbine. Now this thing is ridiculous. And again, like I mentioned previously, and I've mentioned every time we look at one of these previews, it may not work as you see it here in the preview. They tend to change things a little bit depending on how the community responds to things. So right now, this steam turbine will put out 8 kilowatts of power. 8,000 watts. I mean, this sucker will pump it out. It has an overheat temperature of 350 degrees Celsius. What it is set up to do in its current configuration is have steam around it. So you need steam around it to a certain quantity of steam at an ideal temperature, which I guess is at least 200 degrees Celsius. A little bit lower than that, you'll see that it's warming up, and then it starts producing all of this power. It has an inlet for liquid and then it outlets that liquid at a higher temperature. And it seems to have a set temperature of around 90 degrees Celsius. But again, we'll see how this really works out once the game actually comes out, or once the update actually comes out. So you can see the steam turbine here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one just for the sake of it, so we kind of see what's up here. So in this area, I have steam. I have 250 kilograms of it at 219 degrees Celsius. So if I take power here, first off, we can see that the power is draining out of these batteries quite quickly. I'm going to go ahead and put a steel steam turbine. You can see how much that cost, 800 refined metals. So it is very, very expensive. This is like the highest tier power you can have, but it is way more powerful than anything else. Drop this sucker down. And let's see what happens. You can see, first off, it's building up a little bit of water here. It's saying that the outlet is blocked. I think that's one of these bugs that I'm dealing with quite often. But if I take a look at, the liquid out here, I might just have to rebuild it completely in order to satisfy its needs. Let's go ahead. Here we go. And make a bisylite out. There we go. It's still saying the outlet is blocked. Okay, what if I make that a vacuum? Okay, now we're in a complete vacuum, yes. Let's say water at 500. Let's go ahead and paint some of that in. All right, so here we go. Now its status is warming up. So you can see the temperature there is increasing. And now it's running. So now the liquid is flowing out. You can see that is 99.4 degrees Celsius right there. Its inlet temperature is at 39. I've actually had that as low as 9. It still has 99.4 outlet temperature. Again, like I said, it may not work this way once it actually is released. What I'm also seeing is that the steam here is not being consumed. So it's not like it's taking in steam and then outletting that as water once it creates a huge amount of power. It's working a lot like the metal refinery, to where the water is pumped in, heated up, and then exhausted, and that's kind of a cost of running the machine. However, inside of here, it's just steam. So as long as you isolate the temperature enough, it should not, ever run out of its ability to make power. Again, like I said, it may not work this way once it's actually released, but you can see the steam turbine there is a very, very powerful piece of equipment. One possibility is that the temperature might continue to drop, and it's like just transferring heat. But then again, I might even be able to disable this guy here and it continues to produce power. If I take, yeah, see, now I'm not running water through it, but the power is still going up. Look at that. Holy moly. Steam turbine, 1.6 kilojoules. Humongous amounts of power being generated by that steam turbine. Really cool, awesome piece of equipment, and a great goal for that end game stuff, especially once you've already built all your other power plants and set up your power control stations and all of that good stuff. If you can, you know, tap into that, you know, go down here, make use of magma, it'll be pretty awesome. Or maybe you can convey in some really hot rocks there and then turn that into steam. That's around 200 degrees Celsius. So maybe you convey in hot rocks and that increases the temperature or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of fun stuff we could do with that. I'm sure we'll explore many different options. I'm looking forward to seeing what all we can come up with here. Awesome. All right. Did I miss anything? Yes, the massage table revision. Okay. So how does the massage table work? 3% per minute. Cures sore back. Okay, that's interesting. Outside of recreation room. Oh, okay, yeah, I completely forgot about that. If you take a look at the room overlays, there's quite a few more room overlays that we have now. Last time we had up to the med bay and the requirements for that. We now have power plant, greenhouse, machine shop, and recreation room for stress relief bonus. We even got a latrine. I don't think we had that before. Did we? Wash station, toilet? Yeah, I guess we did. So you can see here, for example, the greenhouse. Crops growing within a greenhouse can be tended by farmers to increase their growth speed. So there's a lot of reason to kind of try to, you know, make something like a little greenhouse right here. Let's see if I can see the details of how fast this is running. Details. Percentages. It's not telling me what kind of bonuses I have applied to that, even though it isn't a greenhouse and I do have an expert farmer. What if I go to farming overlay? Oh, interesting. So the farming overlay, I don't know if we had all this before. That might be new. Maybe not. All right, so you can see here, Bert is now harvesting all of the mealwood down here. Kind of hard to see exactly how much of a bonus I'm getting. We'll have to do a little bit of science in order to figure out, you know, what the advantage of these different buffs are that can be applied. So you can see here, break starts at 50, break ends at 33, assigned to public. See how that works. So it might have changed a little bit. I think the recreation room is the big difference there. So if I just clear the floor real quick. Oh, maybe that causes it to break. Let me not do that. You can see here, I've put the storage compactors floating in midair. So what I did is I built the floor, then built the storage compactor and deleted the floor, putting another one down below it. Kind of a way to get a little bit more storage into the same space. What I've noticed is that when I look at the area here, you can store something like the storage box tile is actually at the bottom. So it's 2 tiles tall, but the bottom one is accessible. So I should be able to put stuff inside of that storage box with this ore transfer arm because it's just covering it. Let's go ahead and put that at a higher priority, see if it does it. Yeah, see? There we go. All right, we'll speed this up. Dink, dink, dink. And no, I can't seem to get it off the conveyor. Come on now. Oh, well, that's why it's beta. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the occupational upgrade. Kind of a quick overview here. Many new cool pieces of equipment to explore and play with, and a whole new job system, which is really going to change the way that we play the game. And I like it. I think it's a fun, creative way to kind of move through things and you know, control expectations a little bit more. Rather than just everything continuously going up, you can kind of play around with that. I think it's fun. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in some of the bases I already have set up. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little episode here of Oxygen Not Included. Let me know what you think about this new upgrade here. I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to see how it's going to play out in an actual base, especially bases that I already have set up. And at any rate, if I've earned your subscription, then thank you so much for that. Have a great day, guys. Stay awesome. Peace. Brothgar out.